Why Cyber Roundup Mattered, Math and Charts on What We Know. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So as a reminder, of course, as always, as you know, this is the full version that goes out on Friday on the second channel, My Tesla Live, or maybe it's the condensed version over the weekend. It's whichever one you see on the screen. Really, you should watch both because they're both so good. Sometimes the condensed version has extra visuals and graphics and stuff. A quick welcome to newest patron members, Frederick, Sathish, My Charged EV, and John Greer. Guys, thank you so much for your decision to support the channel. So we didn't learn new information so much, did we? Mostly what we learned was things we kind of already knew, like, that a lot of the things that we had been told in the past are still on track. There's still good news all around. So what is the road to 1 million? It says 2030 here. That's a mistake. It should be 2032. I can fix that, I suppose. So what is the road to 100 million? So we don't need 50% year over year. We need 33.9% year over year. That's pretty good. We're going to be at about 3.5 million by the end of this year. 5, 8-ish, 11, and so on at just 33.9. Now, the run rate, you're like, wait a minute. Well, this would require a run rate of 25.9 million. That's not even proposed. Well, no, but a run rate of 20 million by 2030 is proposed, and a run rate of 14.5 million by 2030 is 25% more likely. But the truth is, we're going to see a lot of bigger numbers here that will help the S-curve a bit, you know? So that's the road. 33.9% year over year. And the trick with getting to really above 10 is that it's never been done before. Now, I was telling Tesla Herbert in an interview a while back, Tesla stands the best chance to reach 20 million EVs. And not just 20 million EVs, but 20 million cars. And why is that? Because no one else is planning for it. Tesla is planning for it. That gives them a non-zero chance. If you're not going to plan for 20 million, you're not going to hit it. It's not something that just kind of happens. It's not like software where you can just print more. You have to actually build them. You need the factories. You need the supply lines. So let's talk about the connectivity cash bomb. Let's say we hit 100 million. And in 2030, the maps are no longer included. It's $10 a month. And I assume some other features as well. Now, what does it cost? What does it cost? Does it actually incur costs? Yeah, you've got to pay somebody, AT&T or Sprint or T-Mobile, or I'm sure I'm saying some that are repeated because there's been mergers. You got to pay somebody. But you don't have to pay them much. And data gets cheaper all the time, and a lot of the data happens at home anyway. And there's ways to minimize how much data you actually need by stuffing the car full of maps when you're at a supercharger, or driving past one, or parked close enough to one. So there's ways to mitigate that, but really the data is extremely valuable. You want that data either way, so it's going to be helpful. But 100 million cars at $10 a month is $1.2 billion a year for something that you could probably give away for free or close to it. And I'd argue that $10 a month is close to free. So the connectivity cash bomb, 1.2 million a year coming in just from maps. That's a pretty good deal. But what about the FSD cash bomb? FSD cash bomb. That's going to happen, isn't it? What if you get a 50% take rate at 12,000? Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen this year because beta in wide release will not get you to 50% take rate. Beta in wide release will get you maybe some more, maybe, but it actually coming out. So do you think it'll happen next year? Well, what about out in 5 years? How about 2027? That's not $130,000. That's $130 million. Take rate of 50% each year after that. Now, this wouldn't be new each time. It would be one time. But if 2032, you would get a cumulative $601 million, $601,000 million, $601 billion. That's well on its way to $1 trillion just from first-time FSD revenue sales. And I'll go ahead and unlock these as well because it's kind of interesting. So let's take a look at what we would need to get there, factory, befactory. And this isn't from my 11-year production prediction tracker. This is just some quick and dirty math I put together just for this. To get there, Fremont, we know, can do 600. It may be able to get to 900 with some retooling. Shanghai, we know, can do 1.2 million, probably closer to 1.5. They're going to build another Shanghai factory. We know that. That's already in the works. And it's going to be a next-generation factory, and it might be building a more simplified core. Certainly simpler than the Model 3 that's coming out of China right now, which doesn't use front castings. It could be 1.3, it could be 1.7. All of these are realistic. Elon said the factories will have an average of 1.5 to 2 million units. These are big numbers. Berlin, 800 is a floor. 1.2 to 1.4, more realistic. 1.2, because we know we got it in Shanghai, and it's a more modern factory. Yeah, it's going to happen. Berlin's next phase, which is already in planning, they've already started some permits for it, would presumably be more efficient. Maybe they'll build a simpler core. Texas, 900 is the floor. I think 1.2 to 1.5 is more realistic. Second Texas, when they put another one that looks kind of like what we already got over there, it'll be bigger and faster. And then a bunch of next factories. Maybe as soon as, if there's an announcement at the end of this year, typically when they announce them, they break ground kind of the next day. So it would launch not in this year when it's announced, not in next year, but in 24 when it's had time to be built and a little bit of ramping. And these numbers aren't out of the gate. These are the eventual numbers. And then others. 2 more the next year, 2 more a couple years after that. That gets us to production in the 13 to 19 million unit range. Just with what we see here, that would give them more production than any other company is currently doing or has ever done. Pretty sure that's right. So that's the factory, befactory breakdown. So extreme scale is something we had talked about. That is the whole point of Master Plan 3, is extreme scale. All of these factories, when we see Master Plan Part 3, we may see factory announcements then. Everything's got to move, and it's got to move quick. It's got to move big. So that's what this is all about. The factories are streamlined. He said in the earnings call in the shareholder meeting that it would be that each building would be a monolith. And in the Twitter space that I was on with Tesla Herbert yesterday, we talked about that. And he said, what does that mean? Well, it means in Fremont, there's a bunch of buildings that do not flow well. In Shanghai, there's a few buildings that flow a lot better, but in Texas and Berlin, it's one building. Materials go in, and some parts, and a whole car comes out the other side. it's very streamlined. Because if you're going to save $50 a car, just $50 in lost time, extra transit costs, extra wasted space, you're going to have $50 a car, million cars a year, 10 years. That's $500 million, my friend. And if you're doing it in 8 factories, that's $4 billion. And now you got enough money to build another factory just from efficiency gains. Because there's only the mega castings, removing those 170 robots, that army of robots, means the factory gets to be smaller. The production line gets to be shorter. That's extreme scale. So that's all I have about that. So let's talk about buybacks. Buyback for what? Are buybacks a good thing? Well, they need the cash. Can buybacks hurt us? See, dividends, I would argue, terrible idea. This is not, we don't need to be draining the company of cash. But if Elon is looking for a place to hold his cash, a bank account is one of the worst places to put it. It doesn't do anything while it's there, except get you a direct line to someone to call when you've got a problem. You get that with $1 billion, the same as $18 billion, I assure you. So where could you put the money? See, I talked earlier today with James Stevenson about buying stock in your own company. Can you do it? And the answer is you sure can. Treasury stock is what it's called. You can buy shares without absorbing them. Now, you can buy them to permanently erase them from the record, but you can also buy them and just hold them. You could say, well, today Tesla's trading under 900 for some reason, and I believe it's going to be at or above 900 when we need the cash. Buy back $1 billion, buy back $5 billion, sit on it, and when you need the cash, sell them. Sell them. You can. There's no reason you can't. It is allowed. It doesn't give the company additional voting rights, and it doesn't alter the earnings per share, I don't think. But that's not the important part. The important part is, if Tesla believes that the stock is only going up, it would be the best place to put their cash reserves. So it's not necessarily a bad idea. And then, of course, we've got the whole matter of the split. The stock split is upcoming. It's 3-1. It's upcoming on the, I believe, 25th. Someone can check me on that. It is pretty... It doesn't matter, I guess. I prefer the split. I'd like the split to be even splittier. I think having the lowest possible share price would allow more retail investors to participate more frequently, improving their dollar cost averaging. And there are people who will save up to buy one share, and then when it's time to buy it, go, gosh, I don't know, man. Did I get it at the right time? Dollar cost averaging would save that. This would also help employees with their employee stock purchase programs. It would be better. But I've also read that making the share value too cheap to buy could increase short selling because contracts are sold in lots of 1,000, I believe. So that is great. This will put, if you bought one share before the last split, what are you up to now? 15? That's pretty exciting. And of course, a small split means we can do more splits down the road, which is also exciting. And a lot of people were asking in the say questions, when is the split? I must know when. My friend, if you're trying to time some kind of artificial move up or down with the split, the algorithms will beat you every time. They move inhumanly fast and consider factors beyond our understanding. So, with that said, I should address the poll. The question was, how far away is my wall? And the answer is, maybe farther than you think. I've done this once before, but It's real far. It's, from my focal point, it's more than 5 feet away. But it's far. It's far. So, congratulations. Yeah. Fun. Pointless. Super silly. Big thanks as always to my Patreons who get early access, enhanced stuff, extra content, direct dialogue with me. All the things that you really need to have in your life to feel complete. Thank you so much for choosing to support the channel. It's a smaller channel, I know. It's frustrating. It's difficult. It's difficult to get subscribers this late in the Tesla game. But here I am, and I'm having fun. And you guys, without exaggeration, make it worth it. And I don't just mean the patrons. Thank you, too. I mean everybody. Rob says, the wall is farther. I thought you were 26 inches tall. Common misunderstanding. I'm about 3.5 feet tall, so that's not so bad. Let's just pop this up. I trust you guys for no reason, certainly no good reason. Let's see what we got going on. Okay. Hockey Day made it. Hello. Who is this? Hello. John. Gil. Hello. MD Hofsty, of course. Except Berlin isn't one building. It's 3 right now. The factory, the drivetrain, and the battery. Yeah. I think there are regrets on that, as we've seen with how they've changed the design for Texas. And when they go to expand, it'll be additional whole buildings, not connected, I'm sure. Once long-living EVs saturate the market, fewer replacement cars will be needed because the EVs last 3 times as long. Well, I think the EVs will get 3 times the utilization. It's very possible. There are a lot of Uber drivers who got in on the days of free supercharging, who drove those cars to death. And we may see that if gas prices remain high, but the gas giants know not to go supernova. They know that they have to keep gas prices in a range that allows them to not move too many people to more efficient vehicles. Don't forget all the tents in Berlin, too. Yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of sprung structures there. Hello, Chris. The cash is currently being held in T-bonds. That's not as bad as cash, I suppose. It's not great, but it's done better for them than Bitcoin. Taxes? Oh, for the buyback? There is a proposed 1% buyback tax, which would make trading in and out not the best idea. But losing 1% off the top, do you guys think Tesla stock is going up by more or less than 1% in the next year or 2? Because really, they should have enough money to fund just about anything out of cash, unless it was buying out their own inventory to create a robotaxi network. But we'll see. Splittier. Lots of 100. Hey, thanks, JJ. Let me get to that in just a second. Yes, thank you, John. 5 feet is 1.7 meters. Small channel, but good quality. Thank you, Chris. Stock become investment grade soon. Yes, it has to. It is a matter of time. The question is that time soon? I believe the answer is yes. MD Hofsty, let's all spam funny memes now. It's a good idea. Who is this says, I don't even trust me. That's wise. That's wise. And if I say something that seems too good to be true, I want you to doubt me. That's why I love to show my numbers, because if I just gave you my conclusions, those are kind of hard to trust. That's what I don't like about Wall Street analysts. They never show their math. they'll give you a couple hints. Well, we think there's headwinds in terms of, parts. Can you get any more vague? Could get subscribers this early with Nikola, though. I don't know what you mean, JJ, if you'd like to clarify. Could get subscribers this early with Nikola, though. I don't understand. That is a picture of me right now. Nikola is not Tesla, not considering the person. Oh, taxes was reference to Tesla buying and selling Tesla. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you would have capital gains, wouldn't you? Interesting. But you only have to pay the tax on it if you have the gains. Well, the people that set the investment grade tell their friends before the decision, oh, legally, no. But come on. I guarantee you that will be let slip. FSD 11.69. I think Gary Black had the best question yesterday regarding succession. Unfortunately, it wasn't really answered. No, it wasn't. There was a good point made about that in the Twitter space I was in with Tesla Herbert yesterday, where, I don't recall who it was, said, Elon doesn't want to put eyes on that person. I'm sure there is a plan of succession, but if you put the eyes on that person, it's likely that they will get too much scrutiny, get too much attention. Anything they do, if that person leaves the company, oh no, Elon's successor has left the company. That doesn't make it a bad thing. We don't always know the chain of succession at a company, but I am absolutely confident there is one. But I would have liked a better answer than that myself. A note from Rob's video tonight. Sounds like the proposal that was that the Arizona Cinema was proposing was false on the labor 4.5K rebate. Do you mean that unions not included? Because I think that would be interesting. Yeah, I tried looking into it all today, and what I found was a jumble of old and new information and not much about it. JJ points out, unfortunate, no updates on the semi, though. Yeah, there were no updates on the semi. Did not see many questions on Say about that. I think it's a low priority for shareholders. Hopefully it's a higher priority for Tesla. In reference to, it's too late to gain subscribers in Tesla world, but it's early. You could get them in Nikola world. Nikola makes heavy commercial vehicles. There are, it's a niche of a niche, or a niche of a niche, if you will. No unions in the current version. I think that makes sense, especially with the factories GM and Ford are putting up in Mexico. I'm curious what they're going to do about batteries, if the batteries are still differentiated by source, because Tesla's the only one so far using domestic batteries, though Ford does have their plants with SK Innovations, and everyone is trying a bit to move the plants stateside, so that's good. Yeah, when was Tim Cook introduced by Jobs? Was it much in advance of his death? I don't know if he was introduced much in advance. Steve Jobs knew his days were numbered. The plan was in place, whether or not it was announced. Yeah, so what's up with Lordstown? Was some news this week. Did you see it? Lordstown, A, isn't dead, and B, had good numbers? What? That was wild. I might do something on that. I don't know. It was surprising. I was just sure Lordstown was absolutely done, but they're still making stuff happen. Time for the last minute questions, you guys. Get them in whiles you can, because we are right down to it. Move this out of the way so we can enjoy our tasty BRoll. So nice. Lucid, yes, is having problems. Problems. John, I do not believe that Bear has a Lordstown vehicle on order. I'm under the understanding that he, like me, thought it was gone. Yeah, Lucid is having some real problems in terms of money crunch and production hell. And it's crazy that Peter Rawlinson was so hubristic with the saying, oh, if Tesla's having production hell, maybe they're not very good. My friend, everyone goes through it. Your day will come, and it has. Our July numbers? Which ones? China released the wholesale numbers. It was 30,000-ish, but that's to be expected because they were retooling. That was this month, right? No, that was last month. I'm not sure. No, that was this month. So 30,000 during a month when both lines were taken down. That's fine. That's fine. If Ford and GM go under, do you think they'll get bailed out again by the feds? Yes, 100%. Should can the Lucid CEO. I don't trust him. If it wasn't for that accent, he'd be nowhere. His accent does a lot of the heavy lifting. And Rawlinson needs fewer parts than Tesla. Yeah, and he still can't get them. Yeah. Okay. The best Rawlinson is no Rawlinson. I love that. Alrighty, gang. What did I miss or misunderstand? If you're catching it not live, leave them in the comments. We have some fun here. We have some fun. If you're not in on the Friday live stream, you got to try it once. All right, well, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flip.